as you can see inside this hub, there's oil all over the inside of the wheel rim. It's coming out of the hub seal on the back of this hub here. The wheel nuts are all cracked off. Let's get it up in the air and have this wheel off. I wish the wheels came off that easy every time. As we can see, down the back of the hub, nice little film of oil. Next thing to do, get an axle stand under it and keep us safe. So, we have 2 bolts, both Allen heads, both 5mm. Pull these out, and that should release the top cap. That's one out. And that's number 2. And in theory now, bit of a tap with this.
This should all come apart. Or not. It's starting to move slightly.
I think we need a bigger hammer. There we go, starting to split apart now. You can see there, the hub oil starting to come out the bottom. So we'll let that drain for a minute and then we'll pull this top hat off. Now we've got that off, we can take these ringer bolts out, take the sun gear out, take the half shaft off, and then hopefully remove the hub that's behind it. So right here is the circlip that holds the drive gear on. Take that off nice and carefully, slide the drive gear off of the drive shaft. Take the little spacer off, find a socket that fits. It looks like there's 4 threaded bolt holes here, so I'm hoping if I tighten these bolts up all the way, it will push this sun gear off. But what I am going to do is use a ratchet rather than there we go, and it's just popped loose. So we have here a big nut. That's what holds the pre-tension on the bearing. Once you've taken that nut out and that bearing, the whole lot will come off and we'll be able to access the seal. In fact, that was the nut. So now we've just got to get this bearing out. Round up. That did something. There we go. Outer bearing off. And then the whole hub. The inner bearing looks to be okay. We'll give everything a good clean up before we put it back together. So we've got a hub here. I've given it a quick wash off just to clean the mud off it. You can see the seal here that we're looking to replace. So the next step now is to get that seal out.
Now these can be very stubborn. You have to just work your way around them, nice and slowly. And it will slowly pop up.
There we go. The old seal's out. The rubber on it has gone quite hard and is looking very smooth, so it's definitely leaking. Next step, we'll give this surface just in here a clean down, give it a wipe with some brake cleaner and a bit of emery tape, clean it up, and the new seal can go back in. Our mating surface is nice and clean now, so it's time for the new seal to go in. I bought two sizes, just because I wasn't quite sure, but offering it up to the box, I'm going to guess it's this one. Lining them up together, they look to be the right diameter, so now it's time for it to go in. I will just put a bit of clean oil on here just to assist it. Clean oil on the seal. We can see on the seal it's marked outside, so we know that that face is away from the hub, and then it's a case of just offering it in. Slowly start it by hand. If it doesn't go in perfectly square, it can lead to leaks down the road. So we'll offer it up as square as we can. Block of wood on top. You can tell when it starts to ring that the seal is all the way home. Have a feel under the edge. That seal is where it needs to be. So now the hub's all ready to go. We'll get this spindle cleaned up, get all this grime away from the seal surface, and then we can start reassembly. So what I'm going to do first, just cover this bearing with a rag and just try and avoid getting as much stuff in there as we can.
Years of oily grime, mud, dust, grease, all the rest of it will get all that away, and that way the new seal will seal properly. Good old wipe down.
We'll hit it with a wire brush and then clean it up. Perhaps should have done that at the beginning. Right, stub axle's all cleaned up now. Start putting everything back together. What I'm going to do first, like with the hub, is just put a little film of oil on the sealing surface, just so when we slide it all together, the seal doesn't bind up and damage the seal. And we'll just put a little bit on where the bearing races slide on. So, and that all lines up nicely. Pop a little bit of oil on the bearing. And then the hub can go on. Make sure, again, the sealing surface is nice and clean. Bit of oil on the inside of the seal there. And then we can lift the whole thing on, trying to go on as square as possible. You'll feel a little bit of resistance from the seal. And there we go. That's mounted back up. So we can put the outer bearing in. Again, might just need a little tap. And that is in and ready to be reassembled. Drop a little bit more oil just on there. This will get filled up with oil anyway because it is an oil bath hub. So now we have our sun gear all cleaned up. That can go back on and be torqued down. This is what holds the wheel bearing on.
Just slowly work around on the bolts and put it nice and together.
So, all those bolts are now tightened up. What we've got to do now is just torque them to spec, because these 6 bolts are what set the preload to determine how tight the bearings are. So, let's get these bolts torqued up. 200 Newton meters, and we have 6 of them. They're all torqued back. Our hub turns nice and smoothly, so we can get the seal back on here, put the top hat back on. Next we have this little spacer. Give it a wipe down. Fits nicely just in the gap there. We have our sun gear. That can slide in. Just pull this shaft out just a little bit. That's all on properly. Get our big O-ring. Give it a nice clean up. That's all in there nicely. And again, give it a nice coat of oil. This will assist with reassembly. The last thing to do is to get our top hat, and we can refit that. Clean up the surface that the O-ring sits on. Now we've got to line up our holes where the grub screws go. Like so. What I'm going to do is just pop a wheel nut on. That'll just make life a little bit easier and stop it all from falling back towards me. There we go. Just tap it all on. Now we can tighten up our grub screws. That's one. And two. So the last thing to do now, before we put the wheel back on, is just fill this hub up with oil to the correct level, and then we can put the wheel back on and take it for a road test. Right, the hub's full of oil. We'll just let the excess drain out, and then it can all be tightened up. There we go. By putting the wheel back on, that's everything done. So we can get it off the axle stands, back on the jack, and then we're all done. So the challenging part now is to try and line all of these hubs, all of the studs up with the wheel. Given the fact that these wheels are quite heavy, it can be a bit of a challenge sometimes. There we go. That's all slotted on. We'll get some wheel nuts. Last thing to do now is just check these with a breaker bar and make sure they're good and tight, and then we can go for a road test. All the wheel nuts are now tight. We can get it down off the jack. This one's all done. We've been out on a road test. Dry as a bone on the inside of the wheel now, so it's good to go back to work. We have a few more jobs to do to this tractor. The air conditioning's not working and door latches and stuff are a little bit sticky. So follow along and see what jobs we do to it next.